We are live.
Hey, happy Friday. Kids out of school today, so my brain is a little bit frazzled. Uh, but I'm here. I am old new dude. He is
Richard York, Asher's trueborn son.
Chris the Crow. I was typing. I was first, and before I hit send, you snaked me. So you got lucky. All right. This is Clash of Kings, Tyrion 10. And judging by the fact that you have two
Yeah,
separate.
I didn't edit it down. So yeah, it's gonna take us a while.
Yeah, that's fine. Well, I'll try to keep my rambling to a minimum. But if you watch any of these, we start with the brains of the operation, which is Richard. He will say what he saw in the chapter, and then I will jump in with my stupid stuff. And feel free to make comments at any time, even if it's shortly after we change subjects. We're more than glad to go back and talk about your comment. But take it away, Richard.
Thank you, sir. We learn of the origin stories, more of the origin story of Taisha, and a bit of the origin story of Dorcas. And the twisted little monkey demon stands between King's Landing and chaos. The queen intends to send Prince Tommen away. They knelt alone in the hushed dimness of the sept, surrounded by shadows and flickering candles. But even so, Lancel kept his voice low. Lord Giles will take him to Rosby and conceal him there in the guise of a page. They plan to darken his hair and tell everyone that he's the son of a hedge knight. What a great plan! A Targaryen prince is going to darken his hair and tell everyone he's the son of a hedge knight. It's such a great idea. It's amazing. Nobody else has ever or will ever think of it.
Yeah, George tends to repeat himself.
Yes. Is it the mob she fears or me? Both, said Lancel. Ah, Tyrion had known nothing of this ploy. Had Varys' little birds failed him for once? Even spiders must nod, he supposed. Or was the eunuch playing a deeper and more subtle game than he knew? You have my thanks, sir. Yeah, I think it is worth noting that it's quite possible that he knew and was not going to tell Tyrion.
Exactly. Same way he didn't tell Tyrion about the mob,
Right.
the bread riot, or whatever you want to call it.
Right.
Yeah.
Will you grant me the boon I asked of you?
Hey,
It's Charles. Perhaps. Lancel wanted his own command in the next battle. A splendid way to die before he finished growing that mustache, but young knights always think themselves invincible. Tyrion lingered after his cousin had slipped away. At the warrior's altar, he used one candle to light another. Watch over my brother, you bloody bastard. He's one of yours. He lit a second candle to the stranger for himself. That night, when the Red Keep was dark, Bronn arrived to find him sealing a letter. Take this to Sir Jocelyn Bywater. The dwarf dribbled hot golden wax down onto the parchment.
Quick
yeah, go ahead.
With Tyrion lighting a candle to the stranger, I would think that would be some foreshadowing of how dark he really is going to get by the end of this.
Right. Yeah, I mean, we've talked about this before, but basically, Jaime is supposed to be a villain who decides he can be good, and Tyrion specifically wishes that he was the villain everybody thinks he was, right?
Yeah.
That night, when the Red Keep was dark, Bronn arrived. Oh, we did that one already, I think. Yep. What does it say? Bronn could not read, so he asked impotent questions. That he should take 50 of his best swords and scout the Rose Road. Tyrion pressed his seal into the soft wax. Stannis is more like to come up the King's Road. Oh, I know. Tell Bywater to disregard what's in the letter and take his men north. He's to lay a trap along the Rosby Road. Lord Giles will depart for his castle in a day or two with a dozen men at arms, some servants, and my nephew. Prince Tommen may be dressed as a page. You want the boy brought back, is that it? No. I want him taken on to the castle. Removing the boy from the city was one of his sister's better notions, Tyrion had decided. At Rosby, Tommen would be safe from the mob, and keeping him apart from his brother also made things more difficult for Stannis. Even if he took King's Landing and executed Joffrey, he'd still have a Lannister claimant to contend with. Lord Giles is too sickly to run and too craven to fight. He'll command his castellan to open the gates. Once inside the walls, Bywater's to expel the garrison and hold Tommen there safe. And ask him how he likes the sound of Lord Bywater. Lord Bronn would sound better. I could grab the boy for you just as well. I'll dandle him on my knee and sing him nursery songs if there's a lordship in it. I need you here, said Tyrion, and I don't trust you with my nephew. Should any ill befall Joffrey, the Lannister claim to the Iron Throne would rest on Tommen's young shoulders. Sir Jocelyn's gold cloaks would defend the boy. Bron's sellswords were more apt to sell him to his enemies. What should the new lord do with the old one? Whatever he pleases, so long as he remembers to feed him. I don't want him dying. So our discussion of a second dance requires Tommen to die, so this is probably foreshadowing.
Okay.
Tyrion pushed away from the table. My sister will send one of the Kingsguard with the prince. Bronn was not concerned. The hound is Joffrey's dog. He won't leave him. Ironhand's Goldcloak should be able to handle the others easy enough. If it comes to killing, tell Sir Jocelyn I won't have it done in front of Tommen. Tyrion donned a heavy cloak of dark brown wool. My nephew is tender-hearted. Are you certain he's a Lannister? He's a Targaryen Lannister bastard. See, Triplet Targaryens episode 5.
That's true.
I'm certain of nothing but winter and battle, he said. Come, I'm riding with you part of the way. Shatayas, you know me too well. Kind of reminds me of Death and Taxes there, by the way, winter and battle.
Yeah.
They left through a postern gate in the north wall. Lissy said too as well. Tyrion put his heels into his horse and clattered down Shadow Black Lane. A few furtive shapes darted into alleys at the sound of hoofbeats on the cobbles, but no one dared accost them. The council had extended his curfew. It was death to be taken on the streets after the even fall bells had sung. The measure had restored a degree of peace to King's Landing and quartered the number of corpses found in the alleys of a morning. Yet Varys said the people cursed him for it. They should be thankful they have the breath to curse. A pair of Goldcloaks confronted them as they were making their way along Coppersmith's Wynd. But when they realized whom they'd challenged, they begged the hands pardons and waved them on. Bronn turned south for the Mudgate, and they parted company. Howdy, lords and ladies, says Sir Dave.
Hey.
Tyrion rode on toward Shatayas, but suddenly his patience deserted him. He twisted in the saddle, scanning the street behind. There were no signs of followers. Every window was dark or tightly shuttered. He heard nothing but the wind swirling down the alleys. If Cersei had someone stalking me tonight, he must be disguised as a rat. Bugger it all, he muttered. He was sick of caution. Wheeling his horse around, he dug in his spurs. If anyone's after me, we'll see how well they ride. He flew through the moonlight streets, clattering over cobbles, darting down narrow alleys and up twisty winds, racing to his love.
Hey, quick thing.
Yep.
Tyrion's worried about Cersei's spies. Could it be possible that Bronn can relay that information? He knows where Tyrion's going. He doesn't follow him all the way there.
Kettle Black is Cersei sellswords and actually working with Tyrion and Littlefinger.
Right.
And so maybe Bronn is actually already selling his secrets to Cersei. We know that he does take up her offer later, so it would make a lot of sense.
Well, also, I think he can read the statement. What's it say? I can't read, or Tyrion says he can't read that. But that could be just like everyone thinking that Arya couldn't read the letters that she had written.
Yeah, that could be. That makes sense. Yeah, I like the parallel. As he hammered on the gate, he heard music wafting faintly over the spiked stone walls. One of the Ibonese ushered him inside. Tyrion gave the man his horse and said, "Who is that?" Diamond-shaped panes of the long hall window shone with yellow light. You could hear a man singing. The Ibonese shrugged. "Fat belly singer?" The sound swelled as he walked from the stable to the house. Tyrion had never been fond of singers, and he liked this one even less than the run of the breed, sight unseen. When he pushed open the door, the man broke off. "My lord Hand." He knelt, balding and kettle-bellied, murmuring, "An honor, an honor." "My lord?" Shay smiled at the sight of him. He liked that smile, the quick, unthinking way it came to her pretty face. The girl wore her purple silk, belted with a cloth of silver sash. The colors favored her dark hair and the smooth cream of her skin. "Sweetling," he called her. "And who is this?" The singer raised his eyes. "I am called Simon Silvertongue, my lord." "A player, a singer, a tale-teller, and a great fool," Tyrion finished. "What did you call me when I entered?" "Call? I only—" The silver in Simon's tongue seemed to have turned to lead. "My lord Hand, I said an honor." "A wiser man would have pretended not to recognize me. Not that I would have been fooled, but you ought to have tried. What am I to do with you now? You know of my sweet Shay, you know where she dwells, you know that I visit by night alone. I swear I'll tell no one." "On that much we agree. Good night to you." Tyrion led Shay up the stairs. Now, if only he had kept his word here, then he would have done a lot better. But anyway.
Yeah.
"My singer may never sing again now," she teased. "You've scared the voice from him. A little fear will help him reach those high notes." She closed the door to their bedchamber. "You won't hurt him, will you?" She lit a scented candle and knelt to pull off his boots. "His songs cheer me on the nights you don't come." "He will hurt him. Tyrion might not be a good guy."
No.
Would that I could come every night, he said as she rubbed his bare feet. How well does he sing?
Hey,
Better than
quick
some.
thing.
Yeah.
Could the singer be someone supplying Shay with information without knowing that he's supplying her with information about the Red Keep, that kind of stuff?
Or even somebody is supplying her, knowing that he's supplying her. I kind of think she's working for Littlefinger
Okay.
because we learn in this chapter in particular that Varys Dorcas is not a fan of her, right?
Uh-huh.
And um and she seems to know exactly when Joffrey is going to be poisoned later,
Okay.
right? So anyway,
Okay.
seems like there's some reasons to think that she might be with Littlefinger,
I'll keep
or
that in mind then.
and of course there's reasons to think that she might be in with the Dornish too, right? So
Yeah, yeah,
anyway,
yeah.
um, better than some, not so good as others. Tyrion opened her robe and buried his face between her breasts. She always smelled clean to him, even in this reeking sty of a city. Keep him if you like, but keep him close. I won't have him wandering the city spreading tales in pot shops. He won't, she started. Tyrion covered her mouth with his own. He'd had talk enough. He needed the sweet simplicity of the pleasure he found between Shay's thighs. Here, at least, he was welcome, wanted. Is he, though?
Mm,
Afterward, he eased his arm out from under her head, slipped on his tunic, and went down to the garden. A half moon silvered the leaves of the fruit trees and shone on the surface of the stone bathing pond. Tyrion seated himself beside the water. Somewhere off to his right, a cricket was chirping, a curiously homey sound. It's peaceful here, he thought, but for how long? And it took me until this read to finally realize what the heck is going on with this moonlight.
okay.
So we have moonlight, and we're about to see revelation of the true self. For more on silvered moonlight symbolism, see Triple Targaryens episodes 5 and 7. I always see this moonlight, and I never really, but it's literally happening right before the reveal, right before someone sees through to the truth.
Uh-huh. Well,
That's what it always is supposed to symbolize. That's what moonlight is supposed to symbolize. Anyway,
right. Well, I mean, I've said it to Lady Thistle that there are those that use the moonlight for observation, like
sure,
Arya going to the House of Black and White
but
during
this one is
the 3 days.
specifically
Right.
silvering moonlight,
Mm.
right? And we know what that's supposed to represent. And I'd always been like, it's silvered. What's this showing? Is this showing something about the pond? Is this no? He's doing this right before Shay sees through a glamour. Anyway,
Well, yeah, but Tyrion doesn't see through the glamour.
I know. I'm just saying he's giving
Okay.
us the silvered moonlight
Okay.
right before a reveal of the truth,
Okay. Okay.
right? Of a person's truth, right? So
Okay.
he's telling us I'm using silver moonlight to do what it's supposed to do, right?
Okay.
That's what silver moonlight is supposed to be doing symbolically and historically, right?
Okay.
See what I'm saying?
Yeah.
Because literally, here's the next paragraph, right? A
Yeah.
whiff of something rank made him turn his head. Shay stood in the door behind him, dressed in the silvery robe he'd given her. So and then he even gives us the maid of the winter maid here, right?
Right.
I love the maid as white as winter with moon glow in her hair, right? This is we've had 3 of the 4 stanzas in the books, right?
Mm-hmm.
And if you need to find them, you can pause the episode 7.
All right. That's
Anyway,
4.
right, but this is the maid of winter here. This is the
Right.
silver moon. She's being seen as silvered. This is the silver moonlight, right?
Okay.
And she's going to
Uh,
see the truth.
Lizzie says, "Person veiled in moonlight." I love that.
Yeah. Behind her stood one of the begging brothers, a portly man in filthy patched robes, his bare feet crusty with dirt. A bowl hung about his neck on a leather thong where a Stepton would have worn a crystal. The smell of him would have gagged a rat. Lord Varys has come to see you, Shay announced. The begging brother blinked at her, astonished. Tyrion laughed. To be sure, how is it you knew him when I did not? She shrugged. It's still him, only dressed different. A different look, a different smell, a different way of walking, said Tyrion. Most men would be deceived. Do we know if it's a full moon? I'm not sure. Oh, you think that matters for the communication? I'm not sure that.
Wasn't it a silvery half moon?
because it's symbolic of cycles and birth and death. It says, yeah, the
A
moon
half
itself is,
moon
yeah,
silvered the leaves. Yeah, it's a half moon.
yeah. Where were we? And most women, I think, did we already do that? And most women, maybe, but not whores. A whore learn. No, I don't think we did do that one, did we?
No, no.
And most women, maybe, but not whores. A whore learns to see the man, not his garb, or she turns up dead in an alley. So Jinx would probably agree. Toodles would argue she has Oberyn's eyes in addition to her unusual knowledge of Oberyn's family. Um, it's
Sorella.
kind of interesting because at one point Hoda tells us that um, all of Oberyn's children have his eyes,
Mm-hmm.
and he's basically making this right after he observes Arion's eyes being. So first off, it's possible that there's some cuckolding there, right? Because it's often the oldest heir that's the one that's got the questionable parentage, right?
Okay.
Because that's what you would. Because if you're trying to cuckold them, that's what you would be doing, right? So
Yeah.
so it might imply potentially that Arion is actually Oberyn's potentially, but then but it also tells you that Abara is not, which Abara's mother says she's not, right? She's like fairly certain that she's not. And so
Right.
Hota clearly believes that Abara is not. If he's saying that that all of them, that all of his children, including Arion, have his eyes, and we
Mm-hmm.
know that Abara does not have his eyes, and that he's telling us no, Abara's not his.
Okay.
Anyway,
Well, I
but
do like
anyway,
this. I do like the theory that Shay is Sorella. I mean,
Shay definitely has the big eyes.
right.
So anyway, yeah, she kind of does seem possibly Dornish too with her creamy skin and stuff.
Yeah.
Varys looked pained, and not because of the false scabs on his feet. Tyrion chuckled. Shay, would you bring us some wine? He might need a drink. Whatever brought the eunuch here in the dead of night was not like to be good. I almost fear to tell you why I've come, my lord, Varys said when Shay had left them. Notice he waits till Shay leaves. I
Yeah.
bring dire tidings. You ought to dress in black feathers, Varys. You're as bad an omen as any raven. Awkwardly, Tyrion pushed to his feet, half afraid to ask the next question. Is it Jaime? They harmed him. Nothing will save them. So this almost sounds like Night's Watch foreshadowing for Dorcas, or maybe even a Bloodraven tie.
Right.
No, my lord, a different matter. Sir Courtenay Penrose is dead. Storm's End has opened its gates to Stannis Baratheon. Dismay drove all other thoughts from Tyrion's mind. When Shay returned with the wine, he took one sip and flung the cup away to explode against the side of the house. She raised a hand to shield herself from the shards as the wine ran down the stones in long fingers, black in the moonlight. Damn him, Tyrion said. LML approved this throw. Any comments?
No.
Okay, Varys smiled, showing a mouthful of rotted teeth. Who, my lord? Sir Courtenay or Lord Stannis? Both of them. Storm's End was strong. It should have been able to hold out for half a year or more. Time enough for his father to finish with Robb Stark. How did this happen? Varys glanced at Shay. My lord, must we trouble your sweet lady's sleep with such grim and bloody talk? A lady might be afraid, said Shay, but I'm not. You should be, Tyrion told her. With Storm's End fallen, Stannis will soon turn his attention toward King's Landing. He regretted flinging away that wine now. Lord Varys, give us a moment, and I'll ride back to the castle with you. I shall wait in the stables. He bowed and stomped off. Varys never stomps. He is rattled.
Yeah.
Tyrion drew Shay down beside him. You are not safe here. I have my walls and the guards you gave me. Sell swords, Tyrion said. They like my gold well enough, but will they die for it? As for these walls, a man could stand on another's shoulders and be over in a heartbeat. A man's much like this one was burned during the riots. They killed the goldsmith who owned it for the crime of having a full larder, just as they tore the high septon to pieces, raped Lawless 100 times, and smashed their Aaron's skull in. What do you think they would do if they got their hands on the hands lady? The hands whore, you mean? She looked at him with those big, bold eyes of hers. Though I would be your lady, my lord, I'd dress in all the beautiful things you gave me, in satin and samite and cloth of gold, and I'd wear your jewels and hold your hand and sit by you at feasts. I could give you sons, I know I could, and I vow I'd never shame you. My love for you shames me enough. A sweet dream, Shay. Now put it aside, I beg you. It can never be. Because of the queen? I'm not afraid of her either. I am. Then kill her and be done with it. It's not as if there was any love between you. Tyrion sighed. She's my sister. The man who kills his own blood is cursed forever in the sight of gods and men. Now that's foreshadowing.
Yeah, without a doubt.
It's almost as if these books are about kinslaying rather than killing your brother's father. See Triple Targaryens, episode 5.
But
Moreover, whatever you and I may think of Cersei, my father and brother hold her dear. I can scheme with any man in the Seven Kingdoms, but the gods have not equipped me to face Jaime with swords in hand. The young wolf and Lord Stannis have swords, and they don't scare you. How little you know, sweetling. Against them, I have all the power of House Lannister. Against Jaime or my father, I have no more than a twisted back and a pair of stunted legs. You have me. Shay kissed him, her arms sliding around his neck as she pressed her body to his. The kiss aroused him, as her kisses always did, but this time Tyrion gently disentangled himself. Everybody's drunk now. Yeah, exactly. You're playing a drinking game. You're in trouble. Not now, sweetling. I have, well, call it the seed of a plan. I think I might be able to bring you into the castle kitchens. Shay's face went still. The kitchens? Yes. If I act through Varys, no one will be the wiser. She giggled. My lord, I'd poison you. Every man who's tasted my cooking has told me what a good whore I am. So this could point at her as Oberyn's backup plan.
Yep, I fully agree.
It also could indicate that she's in on the poisoning, which she kind of clearly is, given that the events that she specifically wants to see are all the ones that are corresponding to the timing of the poisoning.
Right, anyway. Right. But I am on board that the reason Tywin was in the shitter was she poisoned.
Yeah, just because you don't want to kill him before you take everything away doesn't mean that you wouldn't still want him poisoned if you're going to be dead and not around to see him suffer, right? So she could definitely be a backup plan.
Right.
The Red Keep has sufficient cooks, butchers and bakers too. You need to pose as a scallion. A pot girl, she said, in scrawny brown rough spun. Is that how my lord wants to see me? My lord wants to see you alive, Tyrion said. You can scarcely scour pots in silken velvet. Has my lord grown tired of me? She reached a hand under his tunic and found his cock. In 2 quick strokes, she had it hard. He still wants me. She laughed. Would you like to fuck your kitchen wench, my lord? You could dust me with flour and suck gravy off my titties if you... Stop it. The way she was acting reminded him of Dancy, who had tried so hard to win her wager. He yanked her hand away to keep her from further mischief. This is not the time for bed sports, Shay. Your life may be at stake. So Dancy is a redhead in this book, but when George adds Val, he changes Dancy's to honey hair. See, Triple Targaryens, episode 7.
6.
Her grin was gone. If I displeased my lord, I never meant it. Only, couldn't you just give me more guards? Tyrion breathed a deep sigh. Remembering how young she is, he told himself. He took her hand. Your gems can be replaced, and new gowns can be sewn twice as lovely as the old. To me, you're the most precious thing within these walls. Red Keep is not safe either, but it's a deal safer than here. I want you there. It does make you wonder if there's something about being here that she likes.
Mm.
It's like she seems really reluctant to go to the kitchens. Now, it might just be that the kitchens represent her past or something, right? But that's certainly her story.
She's smart enough to know that in the kitchens, in that brown rough spun dress or whatever, she doesn't have the freedom to find things out or be where she needs to be. She has no freedom in the kitchen whatsoever.
Yeah, it really does make it sound like she's getting more information where she is. And so, yeah. In the kitchens, her voice was flat, scouring pots for a short while. My father made me his kitchen wench, she said, her mouth twisting. That was why I ran off. You told me you ran off because your father made you his whore, he reminded her. That too. I didn't like scouring his pots no more than I liked his cocking me. She tossed her head. Why can't you keep me in your tower? Half the lords at court keep bed warmers. I was expressly forbidden to take you to court. By your stupid father, Shay pouted. You're old enough to keep all the whores you want. Does he take you for a beardless boy? What could he do, spank you? He slapped her. Not hard, but hard enough. Damn you, he said. Damn you, never mock me, not you. For a moment, Shay did not speak. The only sound was the cricket chirping. Beg pardon, my lord, she said at last in a heavy wooden voice. I never meant to be impudent. And I never meant to strike you, gods be good. Am I turning into Cersei? That was ill done, he said, on both our parts. Shay, you do not understand. Words he had never meant to speak came tumbling out of him like mummers from a hollow horse. That's an interesting Trojan horse reference.
Yeah.
When I was 13, I wed a crofter's daughter, or so I thought her. I.e.,
Hey.
girl medals, hey! I was blind with love for her and thought she felt the same for me, but my father rubbed my face in the truth. My bride was a whore Jamie had hired to give me my first taste of manhood, and I believed all of it, fool that I was. To drive Lesson home, Lord Tywin gave my wife to a barracks of his guardsmen to use as they pleased, and commanded me to watch, and to take her one last time after the rest were done, one last time with no trace of love or tenderness remaining. So you will remember her as she truly is, he said. And I should have defied him, but my cockpit. Oh, oh yeah. Okay, yeah, this is not in quotes. And I should have defied him, but my cock betrayed me, and I did as I was bid. After he was done with her, my father had the marriage undone. It was as if we had never been wed, the Septon said. He squeezed her hand. Please, let's have no more talk at the Tower of the Hand. You will be in the kitchens only a little while. Once we're done with Stannis, you'll have another manse and silks as soft as your hands. Now, we do not think that the Septons had any right to undo this marriage.
No.
All hail the bastard queen. I love you, Liz. Um,
Because isn't it the only one that can annul a marriage? Isn't it the High Septon?
yeah, I think so. What's up, the rest of yous? Good to see you, girl Nettles. Shay's eyes had grown large, but he could not read what lay behind them. My hands won't be soft if I clean ovens and scrape plates all day. Will you still want them touching you when they're all red and raw and cracked from hot water and lye soap? More than ever, he said. When I look at them, they'll remind me how brave you were. He could not say if she believed him. She lowered her eyes. I'm yours to command, my lord. It was as much acceptance as she could give tonight. He saw that plain enough. He kissed her cheek where he'd struck her to take some sting for the blow. I will send for you. Varys was waiting in the stables as promised. His horde looked spavined, I don't know, and half dead. That's a problem with a horse. Anyway, Tyrion mounted up. One of the sellswords opened the gates. They rode out in silence. Why did I tell her about Tysha? Gods help me. He asked himself, suddenly afraid. So you think that might be intervention there?
Yeah.
He's regretting this. Anyway,
Yeah.
There were some secrets that should never be spoken, some shames a man should take to his grave. What did he want from her? Forgiveness? The way she had looked at him, what did that mean? Did she hate the thought of scouring pots that much? Or was it his confession? He even left out his real confession.
Yeah.
How can I tell her that and still think she would love me? Part of him said, and another part mocked, saying, Fool of a dwarf, it is only the golden jewels the whore loves. His scarred elbow, you have to wonder if would the old gods need him to not trust Shay? I don't know. His scarred elbow was maybe you kind of see that, given that she's kind of going to testify against him later.
Well, yeah. Well, it's funny
Not that
that
she has any choice.
we think that she's trying to gather as much information as she can, and
Right.
this the divine intervention is an opportunity for her to get even more information that she could possibly use against Tyrion or to manipulate him.
Lizzie says that bastard queen loves you. His scarred elbow was throbbing, jarred every time the horse set down a hoof. Sometimes he could almost fancy he heard the bones grinding together inside. Perhaps he should see a maester, get some potion for the pain. But since Pycelle had revealed himself for what he was, Tyrion Lannister mistrusted the maesters. Well, that's a good move. The gods only knew who they were conspiring with, or what they had mixed in those potions they gave you. Varys, he said, I need to bring Shay into the castle without Cersei becoming aware. Briefly, he sketched out his kitchen scheme. When he was done, the eunuch made a little clucking sound. I will do as my lord commands, of course, but I must warn you, the kitchens are full of eyes and ears. Even if the girl falls under no particular suspicion, she'll be subject to 1,000 questions. Where was she born? Who were her parents? How did she come to King's Landing? The truth will never do, so she must lie. And lie and lie. He glanced down at Tyrion. And such a pretty young kitchen wench will incite just as will incite lust as well as curiosity. She will be touched, pinched, patted, and fondled. Potboys will crawl under her blankets of the night. Some lonely cook may seek to wed her. Bakers will knead her breasts with floured hands. I'd sooner have her fondled than stabbed, said Tyrion. Varys rode on a few paces and said, It might be that there is another way. As it happens, the maidservant who attends Lady Tanda's daughter has been filching her jewels. Were I to inform Lady Tanda, she'd be forced to dismiss the girl at once, and the daughter would require a new maidservant. I see. This had possibilities, Tyrion saw at once. A lady's bedmaid wore finer garb than a scullion, and often even a jewel or two. Shay should be pleased by that. And Cersei thought Lady Tana tedious and hysterical, and Lawless a bovine lackwit. She was not like to pay them any friendly calls. Lawless is timid and trusting, Varys said. She'll accept any tale she is told. Since the mob took her maidenhood, she's afraid to leave her chambers, so Shay will be out of sight, but conveniently close, should you have need of comfort. The Tower of the Hand is watched, you know as well as I. Cersei would be certain to grow curious if Lolly's bedmaid started paying me calls. I might be able to slip the child into your bedchamber unseen. Chatea's is not the only house to boast a hidden door. A secret access to my chambers? Interesting, a house with a door, by the way.
Yeah.
Tyrion was more annoyed than surprised. Why else would Maegor the Cruel have ordered death for all the builders who had worked on his castle except to preserve such secrets? Yes, I suppose there would be. Where will I find the door? In my solar? My bedchamber? My friend, you would not force me to reveal all my little secrets, would you? Henceforth, think of them as our little secrets, Varys. Tyrion glanced up at the eunuch in his smelly mummer's garb. Assuming you're on my side. Can you doubt it? Yes, we can doubt it. Why, no. I trust you implicitly. A bitter laugh echoed off the shuttered windows. I trust you like one of my own blood, in truth. Now tell me how Courtney Penrose died. So Dorcas is even less trustworthy than Cersei and Tywin.
Yeah.
It is said that he threw himself from a tower. Threw himself? No, I would not believe that. His guards saw no man enter his chambers, nor did they find any within him afterward. Then the killer entered earlier and hid under the bed, Tyrion suggested, or he climbed down from the roof on a rope. Perhaps the guards are lying. Who's to say they did not do the thing themselves? Doubtless you are right, my lord. His smug tone said otherwise. But you do not think so. How was it done then? For a long moment, Varys said nothing. The only sound was the stately clack of horseshoes on cobbles. Finally, the eunuch cleared his throat. My lord, do you believe in the old powers? Magic, you mean? Tyrion said impatiently. Blood spells, curses, shape-shifting, those sorts of things? He snorted. Do you mean to suggest that Sir Courtney was magic to his death? Sir Courtney had challenged Lord Stannis to single combat in the morning he died. I ask you, is this the act of a man lost to despair? Then there's the matter of Lord Renly's mysterious and most fortuitous murder, even as his battle lines were forming up to sweep his brother from the field. The eunuch paused a moment. My lord, you once asked me how it was that I was cut. I recall, said Tyrion. You did not want to talk of it. Nor do I, but... This pause was longer than the one before. When Varys spoke again, his voice was different somehow. I was an orphan boy, apprenticed to a traveling folly. Our master owned I'm so used to being master anyway. Our master owned a fat little cog, and we sailed up and down the narrow sea, performing in all the free cities, from time to time in Old Town and King's Landing. One day at Myr, a certain man came to our folly. After the performance, he made an offer for me that my master found too tempting to refuse. I was in terror. I feared the man meant to use me, as I had heard men use small boys. But in truth, the only part of me he had need of was my manhood. He gave me a potion that made me powerless to move or speak, yet did nothing to dull my senses. With a long hooked blade, he sliced me root and stem, chanting all the while. I watched him burn my manly parts on a brazier. The flames turned blue, and I heard a voice answer his call, though I did not understand the words they spoke. The mummers had sailed by the time he was done with me. Once I had served his purpose, the man had no further interest in me, so he put me out. When I asked him what I should do now, he answered that he supposed I should die. To spite him, I resolved to live. I begged, I stole, and I stole what parts of my body still remained to me. Soon I was as good a thief as any in Myr, and when I was older, I learned that often the contents of a man's letters are more valuable than the contents of his purse. Hola, amigos, says Pod.
Hey, Pod.
Yet I still dream of that night, my lord. Not of the sorcerer, nor his blade, nor even the way my manhood shriveled as it burned. I dream of the voice from the flames. Was it a god, a demon, some conjurer's trick? I could not tell you, and I know all the tricks. All I can say for a certainty is that he called it, and it answered, and since that day I have hated magic and all those who practice it. If Lord Stannis is one such, I mean to see him dead. The flame turned blue. Any significance to that specific color of flame? Yeah, that's interesting. I don't know, I kind of would associate blue with, I knew as any. I kind of associate blue with the others personally, but I don't know.
Yeah, but don't you have in Jamie's dream, him and Brienne's swords have blue flames?
Interesting. I don't know. Any significance to the color blue? Yeah, like I was saying, that maybe To me that sounds more like water and ice than it does fire. So
Right.
I don't know. Of
Well, I
course,
mean,
part of
blue
the
is
point is that
specifically connected to Liana, but that doesn't apply to flames. So I'm on the same with you. Yeah, Pod said blue
yeah,
roses
it
should
could
be
be
on.
implying that he's in on which I think he is, right? That he's in on the triplet Targaryens, for example.
Right.
Um, that he was working with Ned as part of the Tower of Joy cover up. Now,
I
um,
do think that because I mean, eh, I think that Littlefinger was visited by a three-eyed crow. Euron was visited by a three-eyed crow. I think Varys at that point when he got cut and thrown out in the alley to die, I think he was visited by the three-eyed crow then.
it could make
So
sense. So it's probably worth noting that he was specifically targeted, and that might imply that he has King's blood.
yep, Blackfire Targaryen 1 2.
Yep, Sarah. Varys' baby cock maybe was not a good sacrifice. The flames rejected it and turned to blue. Okay. When he was done, they wrote in. I think he's probably descended from Sarah.
Okay.
The one that Allison looks like. Who the Order of the Green Hand has this theory that Sarah is Allison's mother,
Mhm.
and that's why all her kids are able to bond with dragons. It's that if it is an excellent gene, the logic would be that she would have to have at least one and maybe two dragon genes, right, for her kids to consistently be dragon riders.
Right.
And she looks exactly like Sarah. And Sarah goes on to become a, um, a work in a pillow house in Lice, right, which is where this Sarah is basically the same, right?
Mhm.
So the idea that this Sarah might be Varys' sister and that the two of them might be descendants of the original Sarah.
Mhm.
The other's blue eyes. Yeah, that's a good observation.
And they glow too. I mean, they have
Yeah.
their swords have that blue glowy uh, light to them also.
Well, that was my original idea. Was that blue to me sounds more like water and ice magic.
Yeah.
When he was done, they rode in silence for a time. Finally, Tyrion said, "A harrowing tale. I'm sorry." Eunuch sighed. "You are sorry, but you do not believe me." "No, my lord. No need to apologize. I was drugged and in pain, and it was a very long time ago, and far across the sea. No doubt I dreamed that voice. I've told myself as much 1,000 times. Also, frozen fire is almost the rejection of a lower type of red fire, like the inverse. Isn't obsidian different shades of blue? So that's an interesting idea that it's frozen fire. I believe in steel swords, gold coins, and men's wits," said Tyrion. "And I believe there once were dragons. I've seen their skulls, after all. If there are two sources of magic, they may manifest as red and blue magic." Yeah, it could sort of be a fire and ice symbolism. "Let us hope that is the worst thing you ever see, my lord. Something tells me he will see worse." "On that we agree," Tyrion smiled. "We don't, but anyway." "And for Sir Courtney's death, well, we know Stannis hired cell sales from the Free Cities. Perhaps he bought himself a skilled assassin as well." "A very skilled assassin." "There are such. I used to dream that one day I'd be rich enough to send a faceless man after my sweet sister." Re- "Regardless of how Sir Courtney died," said Varys, "he is dead, the castle fallen, Stannis is free to march." "Any chance we might convince the Dornishmen to descend on the marches?" asked Tyrion. "None." "A pity. Well, the threat may serve to keep the March lords close to their castles, at least. What news of my father? If Lord Tywin has won across the Red Fork, no word has reached me yet. If he does not hasten, he may be trapped between his foes. The Arkart leaf and the rowan tree have been seen north of the Mander. No word from Littlefinger? Perhaps he never reached Bitterbridge, or perhaps he's died there. Lord Tarley has seized Renly's stores and put a great many to the sword, Florence chiefly. Lord Caswell has shut himself up in his castle." Tyrion threw back his head and laughed. Varys reined up, nonplussed. "My lord? Don't you see the jest, Lord Varys?" Tyrion waved a hand at the shuttered windows, at all the sleeping city. "Storm's end is fallen, and Stannis is coming with fire and steel, and the gods alone know what dark powers, and the good folk don't have Jaime to protect them, nor Robert, nor Renly, nor Rhaegar, nor their precious Knight of Flowers. Only me, the one they hate." He laughed again. "The dwarf, the evil counselor, the twisted little monkey demon. I'm all that stands between them and chaos." Up next is Clash 45, Catlin 6. Edmure sends Tywin in the wrong direction.
I do think it's odd that Varys doesn't know anything about Littlefinger. Um, is that a lie, or is Littlefinger able to elude Varys's gaze?
Yeah, I don't know why he's not willing to volunteer. I guess, well, he never volunteers information that would totally take out Littlefinger, right?
Right.
And George has explained that as it's like a nuclear deterrent that Littlefinger is not lying when he says despite the people getting mad at me that he says that he has him by the balls, or would if he had any balls. Anyway,
Right. So
anyway, the point is he never blows it for Littlefinger, and so if Littlefinger really did take too long because his men were busy committing the atrocities that they will then give firsthand accounts of to, which seems like they must have, right? I mean,
right.
Otherwise, how are they giving the details? Then he's not going to completely, he's willing to keep Littlefinger's secret there, because if he doesn't, it's too big a risk.
So Varys is scared of Littlefinger.
Yeah.
Okay. Out of the two, they're not even. They're Littlefinger slightly.
I don't know. George makes it sound like they might both have like the goods on each other. That they might both have a sort of an agreed mutual destruction that they're holding off of.
Well, I mean, they're basically the U.S. and Russia, and their information is the nuclear missiles. If one shoots their missiles, the other one's going to shoot the missile.
Right. So
information.
So they never give information that would spoil the other one.
Right. And they might talk a little bit of junk about each other, but they're not going to go too far.
Right. Okay. They're not going to actually spill the beans of their plots.
Yeah, they're not going to pull the trigger. So, yeah, I do think it's odd that he doesn't know, which I don't know if I believe him or not, but...
No, I think it's quite likely that he knew that Littlefinger's men were the ones doing the riot.
Okay. Well, I mean, yeah, I do think it's really odd that I know the riot was in the past, but Varys doesn't tell.
Well, we'll soon get to the part where, I mean, we haven't gotten to the part yet where Littlefinger tells Sansa, right, that my men gave all the details of what happened in the riot, right?
Yeah. Well, I mean, the riot was planned by Littlefinger. Varys knew, wasn't there, and the objectives of the riot were was it Tyrak Lannister taking Sansa, killing
Master at Arms.
Yeah, the Master at Arms. Maybe
killing the Kingsguard.
Even the High Septon.
Yep.
But I think Tyrak and Sansa were the two main goals, and he got Tyrak. But
I think even Lawless could have been a goal. He really didn't want her to be appropriate for marriage for him.
Yeah, that's probably true too. But
it's pretty disgusting, but it seems likely.
The Hound messed up his plan of getting Sansa.
Yeah, that's a good point. He may have been wanting to actually get Sansa right there.
Yeah, get her out of there, get her in his control, all that kind of stuff.
Yeah, you're probably right. That probably was an attempt. That probably was messed up.
Yeah.
Yep, I'll buy that.
Oh, all right. It's Friday. That's 43 minutes. Got anything else?
Yeah, it's pretty good. It's an interesting chapter. I still believe Littlefinger was one of Varys's little birds at one point. He kept his tongue.
Ooh. Interesting. Are you saying, like, Charles, are you saying when Littlefinger first got to King's Landing, he played nice with Varys and was extremely helpful on information, making Varys think make Varys think that Varys is using Littlefinger, but as Littlefinger's power grew, Master of Coin, he saw Varys's network, got his own network, and now they're even.
How did he keep his tongue? Asked Girl Nettles, and Liz says Damon let him keep it.
Well, I mean, he's not a child. I mean, I think that the
Yeah,
information.
but yeah, I would imagine that there's more informers than just his little birds.
Yeah.
What did he do so well with his tongue that allowed him to keep it, Charles? Ay, ay,
Yeah. Yeah, that's pretty good. All right. That's it.
ay. I think that's enough.
Yeah, it's Friday. I can hear the kids in the living room in there. They're probably trying to kill each other. But okay, on Friday, I wish everybody to have a safe and happy weekend. This weekend, I think we're setting up a pool that my youngest son has been asking for 2 months now. So I kind of got to break in.
Charles sent her a
Um,
link.
so y'all be safe. Have a good weekend.
Yeah.
Enjoy. Hopefully you have good weather. I'd appreciate everybody. Nettles, Lizzie, the Chris, Sir Dave Zilla, Sanjay, the Valencar, Charles, James, Martin. I know there's more I'm forgetting
Absolutely.
right now. But y'all have a good weekend. Have a safe weekend. We will see you Monday with Catlin 6. All right. Y'all have a good weekend. Take care. Bye.
Bye.